Chad, what's up? Danielle, where have you been? James, how's it going? Rita, hello. The mainstream media is having panic attacks over Iran. Truly amazing ignorance. And some of it's coming from, uh, I don't know, more conservative leaning sites. Lisa, how you doing? Kind of surprising that these people, I just don't get it. I just don't see how they could be so ignorant. It's like, all you gotta do is open your eyes to see what's going on. They can't understand that President Trump is not part of the club. They just can't get it through their heads. They want to lump him in there because he's a president. He would have never been president if he wasn't part of them. I just the it's just amazing, amazing to me. We will be talking about it. Give it a few seconds here, guys. Then we'll get started. Susie, hello. You made it. For everybody that's had some trouble finding us, you should be able to go straight to the Watchman page and then just scroll down till you see the live chat. It's on every night, 5 o'clock. I know I put announcements out, but I'm going to do it every night at 5 o'clock, 7 days a week, unless there's an emergency. So if you don't get a notification, just come to the Watchman page, scroll down. Okay. Michael, how's it going? Tommy, God, my eyes are horrible. That looks okay. Let's get started. Shelly, how are you? Swampwatch 1-4-20. Tessie, hello. Okay, start off with my intro, my new intro. So this is a Watchman page. I think most of the people that are here now understand what we do. I was called by God to do this work in 2014, to warn as many people as I could before basically whatever the first event is, which we're looking at, the worldwide draining of the swamp, the first ever worldwide economic collapse, and the exposure of the satanic pedophilia rings. On top of that, things to help us: physical, silver, and Litecoin. That's the main, you know, beginning of how this started. Uh, I am the first one to admit um, I've made a lot of mistakes, you know, doing this. There's been no um, manual on how to do this job, so I've kind of fumbled through it the best I can. On top of that, in March, you know, and it was because of the knowledge, carrying that knowledge of these satanic pedophiles, I internalized had a stroke in March. So as a result of that stroke, I'm partially blind. I've got cognitive issues with my memory. I'll never drive again. Again, and this is not, I'm just kind of setting the stage here for where I'm going. I have no regrets. I don't feel sorry for myself. We are blessed that I got through this as well as I did. Um, you combine that though with I've been doing this now for over 5 years, basically doing it 7 days a week, 16 hours plus a day. If you ask my wife, she'd say more like 20. Because virtually every waking hour, I'm on the computer. Um, you know, I maybe get a couple hour break a day, watch a little bit of TV just to get my mind out of things. But um, because of the stroke, you know, not that I've always been um, um, the most approachable person in the world, um, I could be a pain in the ass. And the stroke doesn't help because what happens is when I'm multitasking, which I'm basically doing all day long, between trying to field calls and conversations and research and preparing for the live chat, I'm multitasking all day long, which with how the stroke affected me, I used to, multitasking was my thing. I could, you know, it was not an issue for me. But now it's much harder to process multiple tasks. That makes me a little bit short. Um, where I'm going with this is I need you guys to help me out a little bit. I am here to answer any questions you guys have that I can. And if I don't know the answer, I can usually point you in the right direction. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a reporter. My really sole job right now is to wake up as many people as I can and get them prepared for what's coming. I don't sell anything. I don't charge a fee for anything I do. I don't accept donations. All that I ask is that you guys pay it forward. Um, Part of that paying it forward is I think you guys got to have pitch in a little bit and help me out. And um, I always say I don't want you guys to believe anything that I ever tell you. Prove me wrong. If something I say doesn't sound right, prove me wrong. I'm trying to put out the most accurate information I can. Conversely, um, and all this whole thing is developed to also help you guys do your own research. I have literally cut your um, research time in half. If every new person just went to my personal page and just went backwards and watched every video and article that I posted in a very short time, you'd be up to speed. Um, if there's something that you're stuck on, you know, you go to YouTube you go on the internet and you search that topic and you dig. If you're truly stuck and you can't find the answers you're looking for and you can't make sense of a particular issue, get a hold of me. I want you guys to feel like you can get a hold of me anytime. But you also need to be aware that as this thing ramps up, and it is ramped up crazy in the last month, I've got less and less free time that I didn't have in the first place. So please try and find the answers yourself. You guys should be finding the answers yourself. I'm kind of here to point you in the right directions, but I can't do your research for you. And I don't have every article and video, on the tip of my tongue. So you've got to help me out with that. Do your own research unless you get stuck, and then come to me, first off. Secondly, I think Facebook has figured out the plan that I've been using the last month and I've been recruiting basically. I've been searching out digital warriors, people that are on the internet, on their social media, and who are on the same page we are. And that has been amazing. The difference in the last 4 or 5 weeks. So what they did was, about 2 weeks ago or more, they just cut me off, wouldn't allow me, I could do everything else, but they wouldn't allow me to invite people to the Watchman page. I went off that, whatever it was, a 2-week or whatever deal. Within 5 minutes, they took me off again. So now I'm off till the end of the 20th, or it's 2 or 3 weeks down the road. Because they saw what was happening, I think, with the numbers, and they're trying to hold us back. So one thing that you guys can do that will really help, if you go to the Watchman page, you'll see that little blue invite button up on the kind of the top right. When you press that button, your friend list will come up. Invite your friends. Everybody, if you want to do something, this is one of the best things you can do, guys. Because this is a numbers game. The more people we get involved in this, the more people that we're going to help. Don't be intimidated and think that, your friends are going to think you're a nut or whatever. We're past that. If you don't really see what I'm talking about with all these things I've been talking about, I understand. And maybe you just need to do more research. And that's fine. I don't want to pressure anybody into doing anything they're not comfortable with. I just know that any true Christian or patriot would want to tell everyone they knew about these things, because what we're showing people, it's not just a warning of what's coming, which could be very dangerous to the world, but we're giving them a way to navigate this problem. People, I'm going to guarantee you, when you just tell people that the swamp's going to drain and the economy's going to collapse, they're thinking there's no way out. If the economy collapses, we're all screwed. You're only screwed if you don't know about cryptocurrencies and physical silver. I don't know why anyone, because here's what I see coming. We're going to go through a rough patch when this economy does come down, which is any day or week now, um, we're going to have cognitive dissonance with the exposure of the satanic pedophiles. Um, Possible civil unrest when Obama and Clinton get arrested. There could be everything on the easy end, from food shortages and power outages, but otherwise fairly normal with martial law, to full-blown rioting and looting, banks closed, everybody upset. That's worst case scenario. At some point, again, I don't think we're going worst case scenario. I think we're going to get through this really clean with President Trump in charge. But think about the situation where if the banks are closed, there's really no money to be had. I think like in Greece, there's been several countries that have done this. They shut the banks down. And you get to take out maybe 50 or $100 a day, whatever it is. It's going to be a struggle. Possibly a big struggle, depending on where you're at and the assets you have. And do you grow your own food? Do you live in the country? Do you live in the city? All those things are coming to play. But wouldn't you want to make it as easy as you can on yourself and your family? Wouldn't you? I mean, it's common sense. I'm not saying that if you do everything we recommend, you're going to get through this clean, because no one knows that. I might not make it through this. Who knows? What I'm saying is, in the big picture, these are the things that make most sense to get you through this thing clean. If we're talking about just the main things, the collapse, the economic collapse, the draining of the swamp, the exposure of the pedophilia, and you've got everything we've talked about, and President Trump does the job I think he's going to do, you might never miss a meal. And on the other side of this thing, once we go through that rough patch, which could be anywhere from 6 months to a couple of years, depending again on how well President Trump has us prepared, the rest of the world is a whole different story now. I expect things to go a lot worse in the rest of the world, because most of the rest of the world is still run by, or at least has globalist leadership. And if you've got globalist leadership going through what's coming, it's going to be a lot worse on you than it's going to be in America. You can't understand the blessing we have in having President Trump as our president at this particular moment in time. So, the point I'm trying to make is that if you look at everything that we do here, and you've got an open mind and an IQ over 50 and critical thinking skills, you're going to have a hard time attacking anything that we do. You can't. We're doing it for everyone else. We are truly putting others first. I don't see any downside to what we're doing. It's 100% up. And when people get critical of it without, we've had a couple last week. And I don't want to focus on that. It's not a big deal, but as we grow and get more people in, we're starting to see a few people that either have different ideas, and that's fine. Whatever it is, it doesn't make any difference. I got no hard feelings for anybody that wants to walk away. But don't muddy the water here. Don't try and screw it up for other people. Because what happens when you start to get a lot of negative comments going back and forth, it gives people second thoughts. And you could have somebody who's ready to jump in and buy some silver Litecoin to buy some rice and beans and more ammo. Well, maybe they're not right when they see that stuff going on. Keep that in mind. If you've got a problem with something, come to me directly. And before I forget, that's another thing I want to mention. No one should be using Messenger to send attachments. Don't send them to me. I won't open them. Only use Messenger for text. Don't use it for anything you have to open. I'm going to tell you why. I was very careful for a couple of years about Messenger. Didn't open anything from anybody I didn't know. One day I got something from one of my best friends. Opened it up. It was a virus. Screwed me up for months. You can't trust. What they're doing is they won't hack you. They'll hack one of your friends and then send you something that's got the virus in it. And you're thinking it's coming from a trusted source. You can't trust anything on Messenger. If I send you something with an attachment, don't open it. Use it for text only, just for future references. It's not good. We don't want we don't want people losing their computers at this point in time. We can't take that risk. If you've got something with an attachment, post it on the page and tag people. Post it on the page, and everyone should know to tag someone. You just go in the comments section and type in a name, whoever you want to see that. Then they can come to the page and view it. We got to be smarter than the bad guys right now because we're under attack. They would love to shut us down. You know, not just Facebook, but the deep state, the black hats. We are directly speaking against their main function, divide and conquer. We're the opposite of that. We're trying to bring people together, to work together, to get through this. They hate that. They know they can't defeat us if we're united, and that's the problem that they're having right now. They don't have any answers. You see them fumbling around with this ridiculous impeachment that is an embarrassment. This is truly going to go down as an embarrassment to these people, that they were this lame, that this was the best they could come up with. After they've ruled the world for thousands of years, they're going down like a bunch of morons. That goes to show you where we're at in this thing. This is not going to go another year. This won't go till summertime. Big things are happening right now. Big things that there's no changing the course. There's no stopping or slowing them down. It's actually picking up momentum. It's happening quicker and quicker, which that's why I'm saying days or weeks. I mean, summer to me is outside, way outside what I think it's going to be. I think we could see some bigger S this coming week. And if the bigger S comes, the economy's going down. So we got to be ready. And anything you guys can do, like inviting your friends, helps. The new people, a lot of the new people are struggling. You know, and this is difficult. I'm not blaming anybody because anybody struggles when they're first taking a lot of this hard stuff on. There's a lot to know. I've got 25,000 hours in this since I was first called. And I knew a lot of this stuff when I was a kid. I was awake when I was 12 years old. I knew the Catholic Church was corrupt. I knew our government was corrupt. I didn't know the magnitude of it. And that's part of this process is when you take that on, it changes you. You know, to see the scope of this. this evil and manipulation and corruption. It's the cognitive dissonance we're talking about. It's going to change people. It's the most dangerous threat we have is cognitive dissonance. You do not want cognitive dissonance in the middle of a worldwide swamp draining, worldwide economic collapse, and being overwhelmed with tsunamis of information about satanic pedophiles, because that's what's coming. This will be on the news 24/7 worldwide. And if you don't have pre-knowledge of it, it's going to crush people. People will commit suicide. The more people we get to before that happens, the less damage it's going to bring. That's the whole push right now. That's why we have to be bold. That's why we can't back off. We need to push forward. We need to keep going. This is over as long as we keep doing what we've been doing. We can't sit back and wait for President Trump to finish this thing off. We have to keep doing what we're doing. Every person we reach is another family that's going to be saved from hardships. It's part of what we do, guys. It's part of paying it forward. The other thing I'm having a hard time with is a lot of these analysts and reporters from all over. And I think some of these people are decent people trying to do the right thing that are just totally way off track. Anybody who believes that President Trump, that there's even a possibility that he's involved with these Satanists, is crazy. And it's this simple. Explain to me why they would let it happen. President Trump, in 3 years, has destroyed everything they've worked for the last 300. Why in the hell would they have put him in? If President Trump doesn't come into the race, Hillary Clinton is president of the United States. That's a fact. Bernie couldn't beat her. Well, hell, you saw what they did to Bernie. They couldn't beat her because they were going to cheat. Nobody was going to beat her. President Trump wouldn't have beat her if it wasn't for God. So how can you think that he's a part of this military-industrial complex because he bombed this butcher? I mean, the people in Iraq are celebrating right now. People in Iran are celebrating that this guy was taken out. He's a monster, a murderer, a rapist. He's as bad as they get. So you think taking him out means that President Trump is now part of the military-industrial complex? You're an idiot. My God. The first clue, listen, this guy was revered. Look how popular he was. Look how popular his TV show was. The general public loved him until he declared he was running for president. And then they all turned on him viciously because they knew he was an outsider. They knew what he would bring because he's been talking about it for 30 years. Look at his interviews from 30 years ago. Saying the same things then, he's saying today. Only today, now he's got the keys to the bus, and everything he said was a problem, he's cleaning up. How can you believe he's a part of that? And I think the other thing is, they're just, a lot of these people that are trying to, I think they're trying to get mainstream jobs down the road. It's like they have the blinders on when it comes to the pedophilia. They don't want to go there. And if you're not taking into account the exposure of the satanic pedophilia, the draining of the swamp, and the economy collapsing, your analysis isn't going to be worth a shit. Because these are the probably the biggest three events, for sure, in the last 1,500 years, probably in the history of man. And you're ignoring them when you're doing your analysis. How inaccurate do you think it's going to be? I mean, we're talking about something that's 100 times bigger impact than the Great Depression. At least 100 times worldwide. Remember, Great Depression, 30% of the population in America was impacted. Maybe 5% around the rest of the world. The world was a whole different place back then. Nobody escapes this. Everyone will be impacted by what's coming. The question is, do you have a counter for that? You're going to lose your bank account. You're going to lose your pension. 80% of the value of your home. Bank accounts, bonds, stocks are all going to zero. How do you survive when the banks are closed and you have no assets? By charity? Is that what you want to rely on? Do something for your family now. Get prepared now. Extra food, extra water, medical supplies, ammo, physical silver, Litecoin, that's just the beginning. Oh, by the way, that video I asked you guys to look for, they took that down too. So if anybody can find that, it was like the 50 top things that most people forget when they're prepping. It was a great video. Please repost it, but they're taking down some of the live chats. They're taking down a lot of things I post. So we're getting to them. We just have to keep pushing. So the thing you're going to get a lot, you get a lot of Christians who, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to prepare because God's going to rapture me. Okay, awesome. When's that going to happen? If it's going to happen 6 months from now, why would you put your family through that? You know? And what if it's 2 years or 5 years from now? What I'm talking about, I'm not talking about the second coming here. I'm talking about the events that could be dangerous to mankind. So it has nothing to do with the second coming. It has nothing to do with the rapture. So don't listen to those excuses. Don't accept them. Ask him that question. Even if it's a week difference, would you rather be more comfortable or uncomfortable? I just don't get it. It's everybody has a different idea. I tried to put this thing together, thinking about all of that. These things that you're doing aren't wasted. They're life-changing. This is going to be the greatest transfer of wealth in human history, on the cusp of man's greatest age. God wants his people to be in control of the new world. The reason that we haven't been for the thousands of years that this Illuminati satanic cult has controlled the world is because they had all the money and the power. God wants a different world. He wants the power in the hands of the people that are going to do good with it. So take advantage of this. He's rewarding the people that are having a vision to see this coming. We're talking about 2% of the population, maybe 5 at the max, that's on board 100% here with the things we're talking about, that understands really the state of the world today. Greatest transfer of wealth in human history. You're going to have everyday people who are going to be flipping spots with people like Bill Gates, Bezos, Zuckerberg. Because all those guys are going to prison for the rest of their lives, or they're going to be executed. All of that money that they've stolen is getting seized. Look at the executive order from 12/21/17. Any corporation or individual involved in human trafficking or corruption can have their assets seized by the government. It's not a coincidence that he wrote that executive order. It's not a coincidence that about 6 weeks ago, Barr reinstated the federal death penalty. Before then, they couldn't execute you for murder. Now they can. There's a reason. It's not a coincidence. They plan on using it. That's how they're going to eradicate this evil from the world. They're going to be executed. You're guilty of treason, you're going to be executed. You're guilty of murder, you're going to be executed. And that's going to clean up 95% of this scum, of these monsters. Most of the politicians in Washington, almost all of these people are involved in this satanic pedophilia. All of them are involved in corruption. You can't make $190,000 a year and in 25 years be worth $100 million. It doesn't compute. Almost all of these people. Look at Biden's kid. Look at Obama. Look at the Clintons. How did they get their wealth? By selling America. That's how. The whole Clinton Foundation thing. Pay to play. And it wasn't just the favors. It was the access to their emails. I mean, they basically gave them the passwords. All of that top secret information sold to the highest bidders. This is all coming out. So there's my rant for the mainstream media and the people that are trying to get in the mainstream media. Let's see what else I got here. So I would recommend a couple of things to the new people. For the first, few weeks until you're comfortable, do your research. Go to my page, start watching videos and reading articles. Start posting. Don't pick something that you found. Repost something that I post. That way you're not going to get off track. As you become comfortable with the landscape and you start to understand this and the pieces start to fit together, then you can go out on your own and start posting the stuff that now you see fits with the truth and what we're trying to get across to people. And everybody can invite their friends to the Watchman page. That takes a lot of pressure off of you going out and trying to explain this stuff to people when you don't really understand it yet yourselves. I think I found a couple of people today that were struggling. And I think that's the reason they're struggling. They're new and they're not really sure what they should be focused on. And it just takes some time. This isn't going to happen overnight, guys, for you new people. You got to be patient. And you can't push too hard because then you're just going to get slammed with cognitive dissonance. Having said that, there's not a lot of time left. So proceed cautiously, I guess, is my best advice. And if you're struggling, reach out to me. Send me a message. My phone number is posted all over Facebook now. So call or text me. I very seldom pick up. If I don't pick up, leave a message. I'll get back to you. All right. Let me see what we got for questions. Iran. Everybody's talking about this is going to be the start of World War III. Not going to happen, guys. Um, I've been saying for weeks, if not months, that we need to expect exactly this kind of thing going off in the Middle East. There are still deep state assets in the Middle East. They will do anything they can to start a war. Nobody's playing. President Trump's not going to start a war with Iran. He might bomb them. He's not going to start a war. We're not going to send in 10,000 troops into Iran. They're bigger fish to fry. Once the swamp drains, most of this crap is cleaned up. Because once that deep state money is gone, and that's what's funding this, Iran is broke. I mean, the people are rioting in the streets and have been for months, weeks for sure. They're on the verge of toppling. That regime is about ready to go. President Trump says he doesn't want a regime change there. Whatever. I think the regime is going to change because radical Islam has no business being an ally of the United States. Radical Islam, I don't think is going to survive in Iran. I think the people are fed up with radical Islam and they're going to take their country back. And I think we're going to see it happen all over the world. Not just with Islam, but with communism also. The future is so bright, it's hard for me to come up with words to describe it to you guys. We need to start focusing more on those things as we're waking people up that, this isn't the negative thing that you conjure up in your mind when you hear it. I mean, it's, we hear economic collapse and people immediately think back to the pictures or the movies they've seen about, the Great Depression. It doesn't have to be like that. I don't think it's going to be like that. It's certainly not going to drag on. President Trump knows how to navigate these situations. Look at his first 3 years. Look what he's accomplished with the most resistance any president has ever faced. In my lifetime, for sure. I can't think of any time in history that a president, Lincoln, it was tough those few years. That's probably the closest thing you can come to it. And he still had his party behind him. The problem for President Trump was there were more globalists in our government than there were patriots when he took office. Think about that for a second. They had been stacking the deck for years with people who were all part of their plan, which was to take down America from the inside. They wanted to turn us into a third world country. That's what was happening. And they wanted to strip our assets. Well, guess what? It's not happening. Okay. What do we got here? So the other thing you guys can do also is tag your friends to the live chats. Same thing with a post, right? To get them to check it out. Yeah, and JC's talking about Virginia. Virginia, there's not going to be a civil war in Virginia, guys. Again, The deep state would love for there to be a civil. That's what they're shooting for. That's the whole point behind this charade that they know is never going to happen. It's to get everybody worked up. Same thing with the impeachment. Look what's happening though. In both cases, it's backfiring. What do I keep telling you? Everything they try backfires on them. Everything President Trump does turns to gold. How do you defeat that? When God's on your side, they're done. We just need to keep going. Jerry's saying Iran could play a part in everything going down. They could, yeah. If people really thought that there was going to be a war, possibly it impact the stock market. But it seems like every time something happens that should have a negative impact on the stock market, it goes up again. And that's because of all the free money. So all I can tell you is the economy's going down. The swamp is going to drain. The pedophilia is going to be exposed and exterminated. It happens on God's time now. You know, I think there's a lot of things that indicate it's going to happen sooner rather than later. It can't go on. It's never going to get to the election. We'll see. We got to be ready. But let's use every day we have to do something good, to get another person woken up, to get them prepared. It's the most important thing any of us could be doing right now. And you'll never have another opportunity in life. There'll never be another opportunity like this in history where you can have the kind of impact on people's lives and the good you can do for them by being prepared. This is generational, what we're talking about. This isn't just a family and the kids will be impacted by this. Susan, how you doing? Well, guys, you have to remember, the Muslims were celebrating. Don't think that Iran is, what are they, 90+% Muslim in Iran, maybe 95% plus. Just because they're Muslim doesn't mean they're bad people. Just because they're Muslim doesn't mean they support a rapist, pedophile, murderer. There are good people. When you're in that environment, think about it. It's like growing up in Ireland. You grow up in Ireland, you're going to be Catholic, pretty much. That's how it works. It doesn't mean that you don't see. I was raised Catholic. I'm not a big fan of the Catholic religion. I've seen what it is. Well, I think the Muslims are starting to see the same thing. It's ridiculous for people to try and say that Islam is a religion of peace. You've never read the Quran if you believe Islam is a religion of peace. When you can murder your wife because she was raped by the neighbor, are you kidding me? Pedophilia is accepted in the Quran? Bestiality? This is barbaric. Never going to be acceptable here, never going to be acceptable in the world when this is over. The problems that we have, like in Detroit, Michigan, their so-called strongholds aren't going to be strongholds for much longer. They will be going home in droves when the swamp drains, because all their cronies in state and federal government that have been covering for them are about to go down. And once the money dries up and they see the sentiment that's here and that Sharia law isn't going to happen, and they don't get to tell us that we can't celebrate Christmas because it offends them, Get out. Go back to where you came from. You're not welcome here. We'll send you home if you don't want to go home. President Trump's not going to play this game. The Muslim religion will not be an issue in this country. You either reform your religion and make it a true religion, or get out. Because there's no room in America for Islam in its current state. Anybody that believes that needs to do some homework. I think all illegal aliens will eventually end up going home on their own, because in the middle of a collapse, when people are pissed off and resources are tight and you're not getting any more free money or health care, they'll go home. They're all here for the free ride that Obama promised them. That started this whole deal. And of course, the Muslim refugee crisis that they started, beginning with 9/11, and then the destabilization of the Middle East. Yeah, you've got to think of the silver and Litecoin as insurance against what you're going to lose, because everybody's going to lose something. Joan, how are you? Cousin Bill, what's up? Yeah, but you know, listen, this we've turned the corner here. This, like I keep saying, this may go on a few more weeks, maybe a couple more months, but they're done. They've got no more tricks left up their sleeves. Everything they try is blowing up on them. I mean, can anybody name something right now? Name something that's worked for them in the last year. Nothing has worked. It's over. It's just a matter of when are they going to drop the hammer? When are they going to arrest Hillary and Obama and the rest of them? I want to break down 9/11 and how we can use that when we're trying to red pill people. But I it's going to take too long, so I don't want to get started tonight. We'll probably do that tomorrow night or another night. But I think it'll be helpful, because just showing that video or telling people to watch that video is not enough. Because I can guarantee you, if you send that AE 9/11 video to 100 people, you'll be lucky if 10 of them watch it. Probably less than 5. Now, if you can prep it for them and explain why they should see it and what's in it, you've got a lot better chance of them actually watching the video. So I want to break that down again, probably tomorrow. But I don't want to run over again. I don't want to be over an hour, guys. So if there's no more questions, I'm going to wrap it up. A couple of people have called me that I haven't been able to get back to. It has been crazy the last few days. Bear with me. Keep doing what you're doing, guys. We're on the right track here. We're almost there. Don't get discouraged if you think it's taking too long. It's going to take what it takes. But by all the signs, by all the indicators, we aren't too far off. So hang in there. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there for tonight. Remember, fear not. God and President Trump are 1,000% in control. I'll see you tomorrow night at 5. God bless.